Bartholomew was not just any cat. He was a very special cat. He had fluffy ginger fur and big green eyes. He could sit still for a really long time. This made him perfect for movies. One day, a man in a fancy suit came to his house. The man saw Bartholomew sleeping on a pillow and said, "He is perfect. He will be a star." Bartholomew's owner was super happy. Bartholomew was happy too. He liked attention, you know. He was going to Hollywood. This was his big chance to be famous. The movie studio was a very busy place. There were big lights everywhere and people running around, shouting. Bartholomew arrived in a special cat carrier, lined with velvet. He felt, well, very important. The director, a man named Mr. Fritz, came to greet him. Mr. Fritz had a big moustache and a small beret on his head, and he looked very serious. "Welcome, Bartholomew," he said. "You will be the star of my new film, The King's Cat." Bartholomew meowed. It was a very regal meow. He was ready for his close-up. Bartholomew had his own special trailer, a small room just for him. Inside there was a tiny bed, a bowl of the finest salmon, and another bowl with creamy milk. He even had a tiny mirror to look at himself. He practiced his best poses in the mirror, looking to the left, looking to the right, looking thoughtful, looking surprised. He was a very talented actor. He just knew this movie was going to be a huge success. He could already imagine his face on big posters. The first scene was in a grand palace set. Bartholomew had to sit on a golden throne and wear a tiny royal crown. It was a little bit wobbly on his head. Mr. Fritz shouted, "Action!" Bartholomew sat perfectly still and looked very majestic. The camera rolled. Everyone on the set was super quiet, all watching the new star. Bartholomew felt the warmth of the lights on his fur. This was the life for him. He was born to be a movie star. He purred a quiet, happy purr. While Bartholomew was enjoying his new fame, someone else arrived at the studio. This new arrival was not invited. He didn't have a fancy carrier. He was a small mouse named Pip. Pip was very clever and, well, very hungry. He smelled the delicious food from the studio's kitchen and scurried in through a small hole in the wall. The studio was a wonderland for a mouse. There were so many places to hide and so many interesting things to see. Pip decided to explore this new, exciting world. He tiptoed through the giant studio, hiding behind big wooden props. He saw tall ladders and long, thick cables on the floor. It was kind of like a giant playground. He saw people in strange clothes. One man dressed as a knight in shiny armor, a woman in a beautiful long gown. Pip thought it was all very funny. He peeked into Bartholomew's trailer and saw the bowl of salmon and the creamy milk. Pip's tummy rumbled. He decided he would stay for a while. This place was way better than the alley he came from. Pip soon found the main movie set. It was the grand palace room. He saw the bright lights, the big cameras, and Bartholomew the cat sitting on the throne. Pip's whiskers twitched. A cat? But Pip was not scared of cats. He thought they were silly and slow. This cat looked especially silly in his tiny, wobbly crown. Pip decided to have some fun. A movie set looked like the perfect place for a few good pranks. He grinned a tiny mouse grin and scurried up into the rafters, high above the set. From his high perch, Pip watched everything. He saw Mr. Fritz telling everyone what to do and Bartholomew looking very proud of himself. Pip thought the whole thing was way too serious. It needed a bit of excitement. It needed a bit of chaos. He looked around and saw ropes holding up a big fake chandelier, a box of fake jewels, and a bucket of feathers. Pip rubbed his tiny paws together. The show was about to get much more interesting. He was ready to make his own kind of movie magic. The next day, Mr. Fritz was ready to film a big scene. Bartholomew was supposed to walk gracefully across a long dining table, which was filled with fake food. "Action!" yelled Mr. Fritz. Bartholomew took one elegant step. Suddenly, a fake chicken fell from the ceiling. It landed on the table with a loud thud. Bartholomew jumped in surprise and his crown fell off, rolling under the table. Mr. Fritz yelled, "Cut! Who did that?" Everyone looked around. High above, Pip giggled quietly. He had untied a small rope. This was just the beginning of his fun. The next scene was a costume scene. Bartholomew was supposed to wear a tiny blue cape, but when the costume assistant opened the box, it was not a blue cape. It was a tiny pink ballerina dress with a frilly tutu. Bartholomew looked horrified. Mr. Fritz's face turned red. "Where is the cape?" he screamed. "I want the blue cape!" No one knew what happened. Pip, hiding in the costume box, had switched the outfits. He thought Bartholomew looked much funnier in pink. He wiggled his nose, very pleased with his work. Things got even crazier. There was a scene with a fake explosion. It was supposed to be a small puff of smoke. Bartholomew had to look brave, but Pip had added extra powder to the machine. When the button was pushed, there was a huge bang. White smoke filled the entire room. Fake papers flew everywhere. Actors coughed and waved their hands. Bartholomew's fur was puffed up like a big cloud. He ran and hid under a chair. He did not look brave at all. He looked very, very scared. Pip watched the chaos from a safe distance, clapping his paws. Mr. Fritz was losing his mind. Every single scene was a disaster. A rope would snap and a prop would fall. The wrong music would suddenly play very loudly. A bucket of water would tip over onto an actor. Bartholomew was too scared to act. He would jump at every tiny sound. He spent most of his time hiding. The movie was not getting made. It was just one silly accident after another. Mr. Fritz pulled at his hair. "I cannot work like this," he shouted. "This set is cursed." Finally, Mr. Fritz had enough. He threw his beret on the floor and stomped on it with his foot. "I quit!" he yelled at the top of his lungs. "I am finished! This cat is a disaster! This movie is a disaster! I'm going home to live a quiet life!" He stormed off the set, muttering to himself. Everyone was silent. The movie had no director. Bartholomew peeked out from under his chair, looking very confused. What would happen now? The big movie was over before it even began. Just then, something amazing happened. The main camera, which was still on, slowly turned. It pointed towards a small table. On the table, Pip the mouse stood up on his hind legs. He had found a tiny director's megaphone. He lifted it to his mouth and let out a loud squeak. It sounded very important. He pointed a little paw at the fake chicken on the floor, then pointed at the camera. He squeaked again, as if giving an order. A clever camera operator understood and focused the camera on the chicken. The crew started to follow Pip's squeaky directions. It was a game to them. Pip pointed at the ballerina dress. An actor put it on the fake chicken. Pip squeaked and pointed at the smoke machine. Someone turned it on, creating a soft mist. The camera filmed everything. The little mouse was directing a new movie. It was a comedy. It was about a chicken in a tutu in a misty palace. It was very, very silly. Everyone on set started laughing. They were having more fun than they ever had with Mr. Fritz. The studio bosses saw the new film. They loved it. It was funnier than the original story. They forgot all about Bartholomew. Pip the mouse was the new star. His movie, The Chicken Dancer, became a huge hit. Pip got his own tiny director's chair and even his own trailer with a big bowl of cheese every day. Bartholomew went back home. He was happy to be away from the chaos. He preferred sleeping on his quiet pillow. Being a movie star, he decided, was far too much work for a cat.